They're not here yet, but Chinese electric vehicles are coming to Canada soon at a time when interest in EVs appears to be growing.
After years of tense and difficult relations, Canada and China have signed a number of new economic agreements in Beijing. It comes on the first full day of a trade mission to China, led by Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Now, the cheapest new electric car in Canada costs more than $40,000. For most families, that's simply out of reach. But something massive is about to change that forever. China, the country that figured out how to build electric cars cheaper, faster, and better than anyone else on the planet, just got the green light to bring those cars straight to Canadian showrooms. We're talking brand new electric vehicles potentially priced under $20,000. Cars loaded with technology that would embarrass most of what's currently on Canadian lots. The deal is signed. The ships are loading. The dealerships are being scouted right now. And the Canadian auto industry will never look the same again. Here's exactly what's coming. For years, if a Chinese electric car tried to enter Canada, it hit a wall, a 100% tariff wall. That means if a car costs $40,000 to build, Canada slapped another $40,000 on top just to let it in. It was basically a "you're not welcome here" sign written in dollar signs. That all changed on January 16th, 2026. Prime Minister Mark Carney flew to Beijing, sat down with Chinese President Xi Jinping, and walked out with a deal that nobody in the Canadian auto industry was fully prepared for. Canada agreed to drop that punishing 100% tariff down to just 6.1%. In exchange, China agreed to ease off the brutal retaliatory tariffs it had slapped on Canadian canola, lobster, pork, and seafood, products that were being strangled at the border and costing Canadian farmers millions. It sounds like a fair trade on paper, but what it really did was open a door that legacy automakers had spent years desperately trying to keep shut. Under the new system, up to 49,000 Chinese-built electric vehicles can enter Canada every single year at that low 6.1% tariff rate. That number grows to 70,000 by 2030. And here's the part that really stings for traditional car companies. The Canadian government is actually expecting that more than half of those vehicles will be priced under $35,000. Affordable EVs in Canada from China, officially government approved. This wasn't some quiet backroom policy tweak. This was a full reset of Canada's relationship with the world's largest EV market. And whether Canadians realize it yet or not, the cars are already on their way. But who exactly is coming, as in how fast are they moving? That's where things get really interesting. While most Canadians were going about their daily lives, something quietly intense was happening behind the scenes. Chinese automakers weren't waiting around. The moment that tariff deal was signed, they started moving fast. Three names are leading the charge: BYD, Chery, and Geely, and all three are targeting Canadian showrooms before the end of 2026. BYD is probably the most aggressive. They've already hired a dealership consulting firm in Markham, Ontario, and they're hunting for 20 dealership locations across the country, starting in the Greater Toronto area, then spreading to Vancouver, Montreal, and Calgary. BYD even operates its own cargo ships, meaning they don't have to wait in line at shipping ports like everyone else. Chery is moving just as quietly, but just as seriously. They filed Canadian trademark applications for 6 different sub-brands: Omoda, JQ, Exeed, iCar, LePace, and Luxeed. 2 of their JQ E5 SUVs have already been spotted driving around Ontario with manufacturer plates. They're not just planning, they're already here testing the waters. Then there's Geely, which actually has a head start most people don't realize. They already own Volvo and Polestar, both of which operate in Canada. Now, Geely is hiring senior staff in Toronto for their own mainstream brand, posting roles like head of sales, head of marketing, and head of legal. The kind of hires you make when you're weeks away from launching, not years. The groundwork is being laid right now, and the cars, they're not far behind. Here's the part that will make your jaw drop. Actually, it might make your wallet very happy too. Right now, the average new car in Canada costs around $52,000. The cheapest EVs on the market sit somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000. For most working families, that's simply not affordable. But Chinese automakers are about to flip that entire reality upside down. Take the BYD Seagull. In China, this car sells for roughly $9,000 US. Even after shipping certification costs and Canada's new 6.1% tariff, experts believe it could land on Canadian lots for somewhere under $20,000. That's not a typo. Less than $20,000 for a brand new electric car. Then there's the Geely EX2. Actually the best-selling non-Tesla EV in China right now. It could come in around 24,000 Canadian dollars. The BYD Dolphin might sit near $30,000. The Chery Omoda 5 EV is expected around $35,000. Fully equipped and ready to go head-to-head with the Hyundai Kona and Kia EV6, but almost certainly cheaper than both. And at the higher end, the Zeekr 7X is coming directly for the Tesla Model Y. Similar price, but with 1,000 kilowatt fast charging and next level tech inside. Every single one of those price points puts enormous pressure on brands like Ford, GM, Volkswagen, and Toyota. They built their EV strategy assuming consumers had no better option. They were wrong. The better option is just to get a Visa. Here's something nobody really saw coming. Before BYD opens a single Canadian dealership, before Chery sells one car, before Geely hires its last Toronto executive, Tesla already won the first round. The moment Canada slashed the Chinese EV tariff to 6.1%, Tesla made their move. They quietly started sourcing the Model 3 from their Giga Shanghai factory, one of the most efficient car manufacturing plants on the entire planet, and brought it into Canada at a price that stunned the market. A car that was previously selling for around 80,000 Canadian dollars suddenly dropped to roughly $39,500, nearly half the price, overnight. That's not a sale, that's a complete market reset, and Tesla could do this because they already had everything set up. The factory was running, the supply chain was ready, the dealerships existed. While Chinese brands are still filing paperwork, hiring staff, and getting safety certifications approved, Tesla just walked straight through the open door and grabbed the best seat in the room. But here's the twist nobody is talking about. Tesla's advantage won't last forever. Right now, they're undercutting almost every EV in Canada, but BYD, Chery, and Geely are coming with cars that could go even lower in price, and in some cases pack in more technology. Tesla bought itself time. Smart move, but the competition showing up at Canada's door isn't playing small, and when they fully arrive, even Tesla will have to fight for every single sale. Not everyone is celebrating this deal, not even close. The moment Carney landed back in Canada, the pushback started. Ontario Premier Doug Ford came out swinging, saying China had just been handed a foothold in the Canadian market that would hurt Canadian auto workers. The Conservative Party called the deal a threat to Canadian jobs and Canadian industry, and those concerns aren't entirely wrong. But there's a darker worry underneath all of that. Mark Carney himself previously called China a national security threat, so critics started asking a very uncomfortable question. If China is a threat, why are we letting their vehicles loaded with cameras, sensors, and software drive freely on Canadian roads and collect data? Chinese EVs are essentially computers on wheels. They track location, driving habits, and surrounding environments constantly, and many of these automakers have direct ties to the Chinese government. Ottawa hasn't given straight answers about what cybersecurity safeguards are actually in place. They've acknowledged the the concern exists but haven't gone into detail publicly. Meanwhile, Honda quietly canceled its $11 billion Canadian EV factory plan, a massive blow to domestic manufacturing ambitions. The door is open, but not everybody is happy about what's walking through it. So when the dust settles, who actually comes out ahead here? Canadian consumers win, full stop. More choices, lower prices, and better technology entering the market are unambiguously good for anyone shopping for a car. A family that couldn't afford an EV at $50,000 might suddenly find one at $25,000. That changes everything about how quickly Canada can actually transition away from gas-powered vehicles. EV adoption wins too. Canada has been struggling to push electric vehicle numbers up for years. Expensive cars and limited options were always the biggest roadblocks. Affordable Chinese EVs could crack that problem wide open, faster than any government rebate program ever could. But the losers? That list is painful. Legacy automakers selling overpriced EVs with average technology are staring down a nightmare. Ford, GM, Volkswagen, and Toyota, brands that dragged their feet on the EV transition for years, are now facing competitors who built cheaper, faster, and smarter while they were busy making excuses. Honda already canceled its $11 billion Canadian factory. Others could follow. Canadian auto workers are caught in the middle, nervous about what this means for domestic manufacturing long term, and the quota itself is a wild card. Only 49,000 vehicles get through at the low tariff rate per year. Every Chinese brand, plus Tesla, plus Polestar, and Volvo are all fighting over that same limited pool of permits. Demand could massively outpace supply in year one, but by 2030, that number hits 70,000, and by then, the Canadian car market will look nothing like it does today. The shift has already started, and there's no stopping it now.